Welcome, welcome, welcome to the podcast. My name is Yannick Medor. If you don't know me, I'm an executive coach, and today I am your personal coach. And what I do is I help people birth out their dreams. I help them to scale their businesses, to strategize their lives, and give them the tools to do the thing. And we all have that thing that we want to do, or that thing that we're doing that we're just not getting out of it what it's supposed to be getting. Like, it's not giving what it's supposed to give. And I specialize in that because there's been so many years and times where I was just out here, y'all, just trying to figure it out, failing, falling forward, falling back, busting my head, and just just feeling shamed. All right. And today what I'm going to talk about is how to organize yourself, especially when you're not naturally an organized person and you're organizing yourself so that you can effectively run your business, or you won't be afraid to start that thing that you've been doing, or you've started that thing and you won't tear it down. And the reason I'm going over this is because, look, I am not naturally an organized person. And one of the best and worst compliments I've ever received was from actually a really good friend of mine. And she said, Yannick, you've just come so far. I remember when you were just such a hot mess. Like, I remember when you would just never fold your laundry. It would just sit on your bed and you just sleep on it or around it until you've worn all your clothes. And I'm like, okay, I fold my laundry now, but I am still somewhat of a hot mess person. I'm just a hot mess person who has learned better. And I've given myself the tools, the resources, and the strategies to make this thing work despite my hot messedness. If that makes sense. And I'm saying this and I'm going through this because I know you too have a dream, and you're probably like me and you're not type A, and your brain goes here and there and everywhere, but you got all these ideas and you know that they can be effective, but you might be a little hesitant because you're like, I'm not the most organized. So I'm going to give you some tools to help you. So part of my journey is I started entrepreneurship at a very young age. I ran my first company at 22, 23, something like that, something crazy. And I started that journey early on, but I recognized I never really got that organization, strategy, time management down. Like, when I look back at just even my high school, college career, whatever, I just always remember being late and unprepared. But I've always been very talented. I've always been intelligent, pat on the back, but, glory to God, I've always been intelligent, and I've always had just enough charisma, intelligence, and skill to kind of slide past. But when I started my first business, I realized that just wasn't going to work anymore, because that was enough for me to slide past. But my dream, my business, my life, once you start adding other people to it, honey, that sled is going nowhere. It's going absolutely nowhere. And that's what ended up happening. And I mean, it was something that just kept me up at night. I was always stressed, and I didn't realize that it was because I hadn't found an organization method that kept all these pieces together. I was either all in on business and then missing out on things with my family and feeling a lot of shame with that, or, never spending time with friends, or not spending time with the right people in my company because I'd be so disorganized, so stressed that I just shut down. Or maybe there was, I remember I was volunteering with the ministry at this church called Redemption World Outreach Center. Woo woo. It was one in South Carolina. Still there, still amazing, whatever. But anyway, I was either completely in with that, but then I wouldn't have time to do this or that. And it was just always trying to fit a square into a circle. But I had all these passions, and I'm doing this because you're probably like me, where you have all these passions. You're not type A, and you have to figure out a planning method that works. And what I didn't realize was I had all these people teaching me these planning methods that had more to do with your timing and how you organize things and creating these to-do lists. And I was really I was really living as though, and organizing my time as though I was a college student. Like, okay, you're running this business. These are all the assignments you have due. And they have to be due by this time, or they're due by this time. They have to be completed by this time. And I was getting things done, but nothing was ever progressive. Nothing ever grew the way that I knew it could. It just wasn't effective. And what I realized is so many people were teaching me things about efficiency, like how can you do more in less time, and not about effectiveness. And when you're an entrepreneur, you're a leader, you have a great idea, you need to be efficient, but what's most important is effective, because effectiveness is what pushes the business forward. It gives you real progress, real depth. Efficiency sometimes just means you get a good pat on the back for getting a lot of things done, but that doesn't mean you've built better relationships with, your partner, doesn't mean your kids are happy, doesn't mean that your business is making more money, doesn't mean that you're strategizing, doesn't mean you're developing people, it doesn't mean really anything when you get down to it. And remember that an entrepreneur or a leader is someone who organizes a business or a department or an organization. A leader is someone who sees opportunity and decides to cultivate that opportunity. And usually the first step is, outside of having a vision for it, is organizing and strategizing in a way to where that thing can come to life. So today I'm going to teach you a method that is used by Stephen R. Covey that works extremely well. And it's just going to be that method based on your roles and purpose, just with a twist. Because, I got to add my own little blurb into everything. So the first thing that you want to do is, instead of just thinking about your time and trying to squeeze all these things, into your schedule, the first thing you need to do is really think about what roles that you're in. What's my role? What roles do I play? The reason I say that is you've actually got to free up some time in order to make time. And part of freeing up your time is recognizing what role do you play and staying in your lane, friend. Staying in your lane. And really just sitting back and saying, what's my role in like every area of my life? And based on that role, what am I supposed to be doing? And so I'll give you an example, and I'm going to link a workbook that I created for my small group, but I'm going to share with you because you too deserve to thrive. But yeah, and then just comment or whatever about whether or not you like the workbook, if it helped you. I know it's going to help you because it helped me, because I ended up going through my own workbook again. Because look, as I'm leveling up in life, as I'm trying to get this thing together, I'm new to being a wife. I've only been married for almost 2 years, new to being a stepmom, new to being all of these different things. I came out of just working strictly corporate to working for myself. So there's just all these new roles, and I just had to say, like, okay, let's get this thing back here, back in alignment, because when the roles have changed, this thing that we're doing has to change as well. So yeah, you need to identify the centerpieces of your life, the centerpieces. Because that's what's most important. And what I don't want you to do is just run around doing things that, baby, that's not your job. That's not your role. That's just making you just tired and hungry. Because that's how I feel when I'm upset. I just always feel tired and hungry. Okay, so your roles are typically the areas in which you provide impact and you provide significance and meaning. And so I hope that this is going to prevent you from being distracted, reactive, and ultimately just have you all over the place. So when you think about a role, right? A role is an actor's part in a play. Like, what is your part in this play called life? But another definition is the function assumed or part played by a person or thing in a particular situation. So what function do you play when it comes to other people and in different areas in your life? What is it that you do? So how this works and how this is going to work and what I'm hoping you will do is, instead of thinking about everything you have to do or you feel you have to do, you'll begin with naming the different roles that you're in and the function of those roles. Then we're going to define what success is in each role and what's actually required in that role. Because sometimes we're in a role and we don't even know what that role is supposed to be. It's just a word that we say, like a friend. Like, what is really a friend? What is the definition of a friend? And then what we're going to do is write goals of what would make us successful in these roles. Now, the idea of this is for you to do weekly planning based on your roles and not based on your to-do list. Because once you define your roles, you'll realize some of these things need to be removed off of my to-do list or delegated, because that's not my job. That's not my job. Let me tell you, it's saying something is not your job, especially not necessarily to your boss, but sometimes you have to. But understanding what's not your job just frees up so much energy. You know, like, I'm a wife. My job is to be a wife. It is not to be a husband. And once I really started walking in that, it's like, oh, no, this is what a wife does. I don't have to worry about that. Because if I'm being a husband, then what is my husband being? He got to do his thing too. He has to do his job. I got to do mine. He has to do his. Okay. But after we define what success is in those roles and the definition of those roles, we're going to write goals of what would make us successful in those roles. And so, and especially since we're doing weekly planning, I'm thinking, okay, and I'll give you one. Based on being a stepmother, what would make me a successful stepmother this week? What are just, and you can decide if it's one thing, two things, just name whatever would make you successful in that role. And then the last thing we're going to do is order these roles based on our priority. And then, friend, we're going to create a schedule based on these roles. Now, the first time you do this, it may take you a while, but once you have your roles defined, then what you're going to do is just look at this workbook, look at this spreadsheet. Your roles will already be in there. Oh, and I am going to link the spreadsheet. Your roles will already be in there, and you set your schedule based on that. So that way you're being effective and not just busy. Because remember, the goal is for anything that you build for you to work on that thing and not necessarily in that thing, unless the role requires you to be in that thing, if that makes sense, especially if you're not leading all of it. And so this is what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen before you even do it. So that way you just get the taste for it, friend. The first ones, you're going to be more effective. We already talked about that. But then you're going to be operating daily with more integrity. Meaning your actions are going to reflect your values and what you actually intend to get out of this thing. You're not going to just be running around trying to look busy so no one can say, look at you, doing nothing, or no, you don't want anyone to claim you don't have work ethic or to shame you or for you to shame yourself or anything like that. It's also going to show you that people are more important than things. I know whenever I want to level up or escalate anything in some form or fashion, I need to improve the relationship and continue to build the relationship, whether it's in my business, building a stronger relationship with my customers or, with employees or, potential clients. Like, I know I have to take the relationship from just this shallow portion of it, to the bigger portion of it. And now that I say that, I actually just thought of something that I need to do with one of my businesses, which is really good. That's why I love teaching. Teaching is learning twice. And I just thought that I was missing. I just thought about something I was missing. So yeah. And if you're Christian, which I hope you are, but if not, you're going to get this ether anyway. Remember, the Bible tells us to seek first the kingdom of God and all of its righteousness, meaning we need to seek first the missions and the mindsets that are in alignment with the kingdom. Sometimes the problems that occur in our life is because we always put finance and business and all the things that look good on a resume first. But really, it's your mission and your kingdom mission and your assignment that needs to go first. And when you do that, you just breathe so much life into your life. I don't want to thrive in business and fail completely with my family. I've been there. I've done it. It doesn't feel good. And guess what? Typically your business doesn't thrive anyway, because all you're thinking about are the problems that are occurring and the fires that are going off in your household that you're not dealing with. To me, whenever I meet someone that's successful in business, the first thing I think about is, what are their kids like? What is it like in their home? Because anyone could be successful in business, but I think it takes a super person and someone of really, really high integrity to be both successful in business and to be successful in their personal life. Why? Because anything that's out of balance is from the devil. And I never want to be in a position, I hope you never want to be in a position where you trade what you love for something that you really like or something that you really want. Keep the things that you love close to you and cultivate that first, and then find room for everything else, which is what I'm going to teach you to do. Another thing is it highlights your unique mission. You're not going to just get lost in the sauce of all of these people that are out here doing this, doing that, not doing this, not doing that, whatever. You're not going to get lost in the sauce. It's going to highlight your unique mission and what you bring to that role. And then the last thing is it allows you to delegate. Until you kind of go through what you're supposed to be doing, you also don't know what you're not supposed to be doing. So typically, you're just doing everything. And most of y'all are just like, I'm so disorganized. I'm a hot mess because I'm out here doing everything. Yes, you are. Because you're out here trying to do everything. The people that say like, you can have it all. You can, but it's going to take a lot of medication for you to do all, be all to everyone, everywhere, at all times. No, honey. That's out of balance. And then you're gonna need some medication to balance that thing back out. Now, there's nothing wrong with medication if you need it, but we're going to use the holistic route first, and then decide what you need after that. All right. So this is what I want you to focus on. One, the first thing is I want you to set dreamy goals. I want you to set big goals, scary goals, things that just really scare you. And this is why you should do that. You'd be amazed at what you can accomplish when you get things in order and when you get strategy. When you have things in order and when you execute life with strategy, the things that it would take you 10 years to do will take you a year to do. Like I have someone that I'm about to start working with right now, and I'm so excited, and I hope that I'm not scaring her away. She probably thinks I'm creepy because I can see how close she is to her goals, even though she doesn't see it yet. And my mind is already like, we're just going to do this, and you're going to hit it, girl. So hopefully she doesn't think I'm a complete weirdo. So I will let y'all know soon of whether or not I actually ended up working with her, or if she was like, you're a freak. No. And the reason why you want to set scary goals is that you're not alone, especially, when you're setting a goal that's authentic to who you are and what your gifts are, you're not alone. God will partner with you to get it done. Absolutely. Let me tell you the things that God has not partnered with me in. All my hot messness, my lack of strategy, me trying to emulate someone else, me doing things just to prove to someone I can do it in a prideful way, in a vain way. Like those aren't the things that he has partnered with me on, but he's always partnered with me in the areas and just given me a greater just favor whenever I'm in alignment with who he created me to be. And that's what we're going to do for you today. And then the other thing I want you to focus on is understanding what each role means for you. What does this mean? What does this explain? And the last thing, I think is the last thing I want you to think about is making sure that as we set goals, you're being realistic. You still need to eat and sleep and have some fun. Otherwise, you will have an emotional breakdown. And I think we use computers and we use social media and everything so much that we really think that we are AI and that we are robots, and we're not. We are living and breathing human beings that need to regenerate. You are not a car. Someone can't just pull over and put $50 and you're ready to go, or wherever you live. If you're in California, $100, sorry for y'all be like, I ain't put $50 in my car since 2000. Whatever. You know what I mean. All right. And so, and I say this because many people, we miss this because we overpack our schedules based on our best days. My best day is like when I wake up early, I go to the gym, I'm not complaining in the gym, I have lots of energy, I slept well, no one called me with any mess, no one made me angry, my house is quiet and peaceful, my husband's in the best mood ever, blah, 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 blah. We set our schedules and our expectations based upon what our best days are. But in reality, I want to set a schedule and set expectations that leave some room for error and leave some room for life and leave some room for the unexpected, meaning when people start peopling. Remember, anything that's not in balance is not of God. That's from the devil, friend. That's a spirit. Okay, so let's start this process. So the first thing, if you click the link right now, actually, you can go down to the link in the bio. Not the link in the bio, the link in this video or the bio, depending on where you're watching it. And I want you to download this, and it says role planning. I'm going to show this to you. Yay, role planning. A mission-centered planning and organization method. And that's what you're learning today. Mission-centered, friend. Not just you being out here being crazy. So download this, and it's going to take you through it. So the first thing that we're going to do, and you can read the welcome, but the first thing we're going to do is establish your roles. All right. So you're going to go to page 4, and there's a role tracker here. As you can see, I've already written mine in, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 roles. Okay. And look, don't feel like you have to have 11. Really, I'm a little crazy, but some of these roles I'll only do like one thing per weekend, but it's still important. All right. So I want you to go through and read your roles. So my first one is, look, I'm a woman and a daughter of God. Period. So I'm not someone that just wakes up and says, what I want to do today. I'm that person that's like, okay, God, what do you need from me today? How can I build a closer connection with you? How can I hear you? And also I need to make sure that voice is loud and strong, because when I work with people, a lot of the times, how I'm able to help them with breakthrough is by having that voice of God and the Holy Spirit in my ear telling me, look, help this person with this, bring this up. Because they won't talk to me about it, but they're talking to you about it. So you're going to be my mouthpiece today, because I want to see them win too. My second most important role is being a wife. My third is being a stepmom. My fourth is being an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur for me, entrepreneur and coach is in the same thing, right? My fifth is being a property owner. Sometimes I forget, like I'm the rent lady. And that's one area where I feel like I have not put forth as much effort and intention and attention as I need to be. And I am reaping the results of that, but we're getting that in order. And I just put that in the front end of it. And I know that continuing to purchase properties and develop properties, that's something that I need to do. And that is a calling of mine in real estate. So I have to push that up. And it's just something that, while I was working corporate and while I was, doing all these things, I just didn't give it my full attention because I was just too stretched. So now, no, that's no longer excuse. Another thing that I put on there is dance teacher. If you don't know this, I teach dance, a dance called Kizomba. I love it. It's so much fun. I bring people together. We have events. It just keeps me going, keeps me young, keeps me just vibing. It's something that I get paid for and I do, but I would absolutely do for free, like this video, right? I'm also a daughter, a friend, and a family member. right? Like my extended family, we're close and I want to continue to maintain that. Okay. So once you write and establish your roles, number two, and I checked this off because I already did it, was you need to establish, I put EST, but I forget, a lot of people don't know that EST is like established. You need to establish the function of each role. So in the back of your workbook, you can write this in or add an extra page. I put all of my workbooks in GoodNotes because I stopped carrying paper notebooks around because I just end up having hundreds of notebooks everywhere and all my notes are in all these different places. So I use GoodNotes. So I added an extra page and I wrote down the definitions of each thing. So the first thing was an entrepreneur, right? I was like, okay, what is the definition of an entrepreneur? And I got this from this woman named Tiffany Montgomery. And I'd gone through these things, but I never really went through prior to this in detail, or I did it subconsciously, to be honest, but in detail of what the function of each role is. And when I got into the definition of entrepreneur, it made perfect sense and why we're doing this today. An entrepreneur is a person who organizes and operates a business. We forget the organizes part. We know about the operating part. And most entrepreneurs were like, we're ready to operate. You have a dream, you're ready to just start doing the thing, right? But an entrepreneur, I'm going to put a leader in there too, is someone who organizes and operates a business. And the organization part came first because without the organization, you can't really operate. Goes back to the story I was telling you about my first business when everyone was running around with chickens with their head cut off. I still can't believe we made money. I still can't believe I made money. But I look back and think like, man, if I had that level of organization and I really understood, being effective instead of just being efficient, we would have been in a completely different place. But we're here now. That's what matters. Don't worry about where you've been. We're starting fresh right now. So, and then just going into the definition of a wife, the definition of a mother, a definition of a coach. This is key for me. A coach is someone who's a private tutor and someone who instructs or trains. Now, I'm going to tell you this because you may not be a coach, but you're doing something that probably falls into this trap. One of the things that stressed me out prior about being a coach is I really care about my people just doing the thing, getting the job done, to the point to where there's been times in the past where I found myself doing it for them, doing the whole thing for them and really pushing them forward instead of just doing the definition of a coach, which is someone who instructs or trains. To instruct, direct, or prompt as a coach or to train intensively. So my job isn't to run the race for you. It's to train and equip you to run the race. Now imagine there being a time, because there was a time. You don't even have to imagine. Just look at me. This is just a few years ago, if not a few months ago or whatever. Imagine being someone who would intensively train, intensively instruct, and then intensively push that person to do it. To where there would be times where I would resent coaching people, thinking like, is this something I really want to do? Is this really a gift, Lord? Am I really supposed to be teaching? And the answer is yes. But the problem was I didn't think about, or I hadn't taken the time to really define what my job is. And I ended up putting additional time and effort into things that were not within the realm of a coach. The coach does not run the race for you. They prepare you for the race, but you still have to run the race yourself. So I want you to really think about, as we're going through these things, and which is in the book too, where are you operating outside the definition of what you're supposed to be doing? And is it paying you back? Meaning, is it taking away your energy, or is it instructing you as to, other titles and other roles that you should be in? Then I went into friendships, right? And this is an area that I have felt guilt about, because I'm like, man, I feel like I'm always busy. I'm doing this. I'm not as available for my friends as I want to. And obviously, as you grow, you just have less time for everything. But a friend is one who's attached to another by affection or esteem, and one that favors or promotes something, or a favored companion. And I'm like, okay, great. I have friends and I know how to be a friend. Another thing that said that was a definition of a friend is one that's not hostile towards another. So if you're hostile towards another person, you're not their friend. Or if they're being hostile towards you, they're not your friend. Look, hopefully the camera gets that. Cut. They're not a friend. So how much of your time is being wasted, right, on a friendship that's not really a friend? They're just taking up time, making you more stressed. Cut it. It's going to give you some more room for the things that you want. So that's what we're going to do. And take that time to really write down the definitions of each role. The next thing you're going to do is I want you to define a goal. So like, all right, for instance, for Daughter of God, I was like, look, I want a deeper anointing. I want more word. I want to bring more people to Christ, and I want to be more Christ-like. That's my goal. As a wife, I want to help my husband and just continue to keep him connected to the family, connected with everything, and just to support whatever it is that he's doing, and just being that extra touch of love and respect for him. As a stepmom, same thing, better connection. And then I even wrote like, hey, I want to teach this to them and that to them, and just establishing goals. One thing I put on there was just making sure that I'm doing some fun stuff. Just whatever it is, whether it's for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, just taking intentional time to do fun stuff with them. And so I just went down like the entire thing and I established goals for that. Now, the next step that you want to do is I want you to go through, and on the role tracker, it has that thing that you want to do and its priority. Because as you establish your schedule, you're going to write in your priorities first. So like Daughter of God, set my goals. I'm scheduling time to read my Bible. That goes in there first on my schedule. I don't put everything else in there. And that number one priority is the last thing I'm just fitting into my schedule. And the reason that's important is when you don't prioritize your priorities, all you're left with is guilt and shame. So no matter how much you grow, no matter how much you do, you're going to always feel guilty about not doing the thing. And typically what you prioritize and your priorities are what feed you. So you'll find yourself not having the energy to execute in the other areas because you're not being fed, or you're not keeping your life in balance, or you're not prioritizing what's most important to you. So really take that priority. You can just go down the list and just write 1, 2, 3 through whatever number of roles that you have. And the last part is once you establish your roles, you have your goals. The next thing that you're going to do is we need to stop for 1 second because I forgot about this. Check in. Once you establish your roles, you find the definition of said roles, or you define said roles, you prioritize them. I want you to take this time right now and think about what are some roles that you've assumed that you shouldn't be in. Whether it's consciously or subconsciously, what are some roles that do not align with your overall mission? And look, it can be the best thing in the world, but if it doesn't align with your mission, it's a waste of time. And it's taking time away from your actual mission. So it's just like your house, to where if you're constantly bringing stuff in, and you never take anything out, you're going to be on hoarders. Everything's just going to be falling out the door. You're not going to have a place to sleep. You can't walk. You create this little fake paths. You got a dead cat in there. The poor dog is sick. You can't find food. You got critters running around. There's just problems. So before you add something, or when you add something, typically something needs to be taken away. I heard this quote from our counselors, and he said, every time God adds something into your life, he also takes something away. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forget, because God isn't a hoarder unless it's of just strong believers and of love. But we don't just he just don't just keep stuff around just because, like, you have to stay right here. No, if you want to go, go. Right? Like, it's only the good stuff. Only the good stuff, right? Out with the bad, in with the good. Out with the old, in with the new. So as you're doing this, I don't want you to think of, I have to just continue to juggle all these balls. I want you to think of, what balls am I juggling, right? Like, what's going around here that shouldn't be here? Are you juggling 50 somethings when really you should only be juggling 5? And the last thing I'm going to say is, sometimes we do that because we base our self-worth on what we are doing for others or what all we can do. And I had to really divorce that, like, hyperachievism, or whatever the word is, or that need to just be needed all the time. And I realized that it was a point of pride for me, but it was also a point that showed me where I needed to improve my self-image. And understand, like, hey, like, I'm good whether I'm in the front or if I'm in the back. I'm good whether I'm leading or I'm just contributing. Why? Because I believe that I'm good on the inside. So, and so when you think about the things that maybe aren't aligned with your overall mission, can they be delegated? Can they be removed? I'm going to say this too. Sometimes we will hoard certain things, and us hoarding the title, hoarding the role, hoarding the responsibility is blocking someone else's blessing, because maybe they deserve, the promotion, or maybe they need the experience, or maybe they need the money. Like, look, you know what? There was a time I was, like, really busy. I was like, look, I got to get house cleaners. And I didn't want to do that. I was just like, I don't want to be that woman. I don't know what that woman is or was in my mind, but I realized, like, I'm not achieving anything by trying to pretend like I'm just keeping up with all this stuff and just stressing myself out. If anything, I'm taking away from the time with my family, and my abilities to really focus, because it's taken me 5 hours to clean the house. I didn't realize that I was shaming myself about it and thinking, what's wrong with me? Do you know when these cleaners came? It was 2 of them, and it still took them 2.5 hours to clean thoroughly. And I'm like, okay, it took 2 people 2.5 hours to clean thoroughly. And here I was spending 5 and 6 hours thinking there was something wrong with me, when really that's just what it takes. That also made me rethink whether or not I wanted a bigger house. And that wasn't even them cleaning everything upstairs and downstairs in the basement. Our basement has, like, another full house basically. And I'm like, girl, are you crazy? So what can be removed? All right. So as you do this, this is the last part of the workbook, which actually has this schedule out there, but I also will include the Excel spreadsheet, or if you're like me, you can write directly on the workbook. And so let's see if it's going to show it the right way. Kind of. All right. Kind of, sort of. I don't know. I think if I hold it like this. All right. So it starts off. Okay. You're just going to have to pull it up. But it starts off when you write all of your roles in on here. And you write your roles in the colored section. And then you also put your weekly goals for that role. And you're still going to write them out in priority. So my first one was like daughter of God, wife, friend, and then entrepreneur. I'm sorry. And then I put stepmom, entrepreneur. And I just went through all of my roles. I wrote them in order, right? Or kind of wrote them in order. I think I did it right on the spreadsheet. But, and then I wrote out my weekly goals for each one of those roles. So I'll give you one example. One was as a wife, I wanted to do laundry. My husband's laundry, even though he did it himself, so cool. And I want to map out a trip to Nashville that we're taking, so he doesn't have to think about how this trip's going to go, anything like that. I was like, that's going to be loving for me this week, is just mapping out that stuff to where he doesn't have to even think about it, And then so I was like, all right, what day am I going to do this on? So all the mapping and everything I'm going to do tomorrow. So yes, that's on that. And then for my friends, I was like, okay, here are my list of people that I'm going to text this week. And I even put on my schedule, like, hey, when am I going to send these text messages out? When am I going to do this? Who am I going to meet up with? And I sent the text message out like, look, girl, let's get this on the calendar for whatever day. And then for coaching, I put like, okay, when am I going to prepare for my calls, prepare for my stats, everything like that. And then entrepreneur, and I had, on there, I have this day of organization that I have where I just do a deep dive into finances, roles, recruiting, just everything to just organize business on a higher level, and just to get a full scale and a full scope of what the territory, what the land is like right now. Like, okay, I'm doing all these things, but let me slow down. Okay, what's the money looking like? What's my funnel looking like for new clients? What's my marketing looking like? What's my branding? What's this? What's that? What systems are in place? What systems are working well? And I do all of that based on the data. And then I create a plan based on that. I have a day specified, to do that. And so you want to go through and you start there. And then you start, once you have your goals for each of those areas, then you put in and map out specific times that you're going to do all these things in the last section as far as your appointments and your commitments, and you base that on your roles. So you already know what role you play, what goals you have for said role, and then you write out your actions and schedule your time based on that. And what you'll notice is everything that's not included, things that you've just been filling your schedule with. Because let me tell you, you're not going to wake up and just suddenly be type A and you're just going to be like, oh, do, and super organized and you can do 50 things in a day or whatever. Nor do I recommend it. But you can be strategic in what you're doing and set up a schedule that's realistic and a schedule that's absolutely going to guarantee you that you hit your goals. Why? Because you established the goals in the beginning and then you wrote out the specific actions that are going to take you to the goal, and then you put it on your schedule. And so instead of starting your day with all of these things, you're starting your day based on your priorities, and you're filling all the extra time you have with the extra. So you're not like, oh, I got to do laundry right now. It's like, no, I'm doing these things. And when I'm done, I'm going to do laundry. Or when I'm done, I'm going to pop that movie in. Or when I'm done, I'm going to call so-and-so. Or when I'm done, I'm going to craft. Or when I'm done, whatever that thing is. And so all I'm saying is you 1000% can go from hot mess like me and everyone else, hot mess, to strategy. And you can find a way to make sure that the things that are most important to you just don't fall by the wayside. Start there. And I promise you, give it a few weeks. Give it a few weeks. And take a day to where you could just go through this and start writing it out. Like mine, I like Saturday mornings. Saturday mornings, you're not thinking about anything, whatever. I write it out. Some people like Sundays. Fridays are good, whatever day you choose, and just put that in your calendar. And that's the time where you just go through this. And you'll be amazed at how much better you feel when you know you have a plan, and it's a plan that feeds you from a holistic standpoint and not just having this long list of to-dos that my ADHD brain just continues to come up with. Like, I can do this. I need to 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 do this. No. Do the thing that grows the areas of your life that are most important. Everything else can wait. Everything else can wait. Because the things that are important to you, those are the real emergencies. So look, I hope you love this, and I hope that you like and subscribe and share and comment and email me if you have questions and everything else that's going to keep us connected, so that way you can get the next iteration, because we're going to build this thing up piece by piece. We're not going to take it all in at once, piece by piece, piece by piece, piece by piece. Thank you, friend.